All right, welcome to the JavaScript Input Process Output IPO crash course. And we're going to get an introduction into JavaScript and what that's all about. So on the main page here, we've got the crash course. We're going to have a series of videos again just to introduce the main concepts of JavaScript, and then there'll be some code along examples again and an assignment. So we're going to look at the JavaScript intro here. So far the HTML and CSS that we've done, that hasn't been programming. HTML is a markup language, CSS is a styling language. It's basically telling the browser, hey, this is what content and what styles to display on this web page. That's not officially programming. So what is programming? Well, it's writing algorithms in a programming language. So really an algorithm is, you've done algorithms before. If you've ever cooked, a recipe is an algorithm, a step-by-step set of instructions to complete a task. So that's what a program is. A program is a step-by-step set of instructions that we tell the computer to do, and it's going to accomplish something, complete a task, do something. So the algorithm is really the solution. What are the steps that are required? And then how do we actually execute that algorithm? How do we execute the solution? Well, we use a programming language. So a programming language is a formal language for instructing a computer. We tell the computer what to do using that programming language. So that's implementing the solution. And we're going to be looking at the basics of JavaScript, which is a programming language that is commonly used to program the web. Right? It runs inside of a web browser. So here are some commands that we can use in JavaScript. Right? JavaScript has some built-in commands, some instructions that we can do to tell the computer what to do. These commands are often called functions or methods. Okay, so to show you that this runs in the browser, I'm actually just going to open a new tab here. And I'm going to hit F12 to open up my console. So instead of the elements, I'm going to go to the console here. And I'm just going to, here's a command, clear. Just going to clear that. And inside of here is we can actually type JavaScript commands right inside of this console. So make it a little bigger here. So one of the JavaScript functions or commands is the alert function. So alert, right? That's the name of the function. And whenever we want to tell a function to do its job, we add parentheses after it. Okay, and we usually add a semicolon to kind of end the command. It's optional, but it's recommended. I recommend it anyway. So this is the alert function. And this alert function is a command that takes in some information. So inside of these parentheses, I can, even tells me, some sort of message. So in quotations like that, I can say a message. And the classic first program is hello world. So now if I hit enter, the web browser reads this command, and the web browser knows how to run JavaScript, and it opens up this pop-up window that says the message, hello world. Okay, and we can do that again, hello world, or this is alert, this is JavaScript. Just like that, right? The function name alert, parentheses, and then inside of quotations we can do a message, and we hit that, this is JavaScript. So feel free to try doing some of your own commands. Another one that's similar is the prompt function. Okay, so prompt is the name of the function, open and close parentheses to tell that function to do its job, to run, semicolon at the end, and again we can give it a message. You know, what is your name? Prompt is a little bit different than alert, similar but different. It'll also do a pop-up window, but it'll ask that prompt, that question, and then have this input where the user can type in, Mr. Veldkamp. Okay, and you see it returns, right? Alert here returned undefined because its job wasn't to return anything, whereas prompt returns whatever the user types in, right? If I hit the up arrow key, I could do that again, and I could type in George, and this time you'll see that the prompt function returns George. Another one is console.log. We'll just say hello, and this is the console, so it just logs that message into the console. Right now that's kind of useless because I'm in the console, but when we're writing our programs in our editor, this can come in handy to put messages into this console to kind of give us some clue about what's happening with our program. There's all sorts of commands. Another one we can look at is there's this math object, and you can see it's actually listing a whole bunch of stuff, but we're going to go math.random. So math.random is the name of the function, or the method in this case, because it's associated with an object. And again, to invoke this method, we use parentheses. and I hit enter and enter and enter, and every time it gives me a random decimal between 0 and 1. Okay, so those are some JavaScript commands, things that I can do to say, hey, alert, show this message to the user. Hey, prompt the user for some information. Hey, log something to the console. Get a random number. These are built-in commands that are part of the JavaScript programming language. And the web browser has a JavaScript engine that knows how to run these commands to execute them, and so that the browser does what we want it to do. Okay, let's just go back here. Those are all the commands we looked at. Great. Now, how do we don't actually write JavaScript programs in the console like this. This is just to play around and to test things. Normally, we write our JavaScript programs in a JavaScript file, script.js, and we load that JavaScript file into our web page. Right? JavaScript is runs in the browser, so it's going to be included as part of our web page. All right. Now, when we did Replit, I think I actually deleted these. Remember how it came with the script.js and I deleted it? Now we're going to add it back. And what I realized is most of the projects we did in our HTML and CSS basics section, we're going to add JavaScript to those. So I actually want to rename this folder here. And I'm just going to rename it to CS10 Basic Training. And we'll just have all of our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript programs in this folder. So CS10 Basic Training, and what I'd like to do is, well, let's take a look at our first HTML maybe. And inside of this first HTML, we've got our index.html or style.css. I'm going to add a new file, and we can call it whatever we want, but script is common, or main, sometimes main.js, and just make sure it has that .js extension, because that represents JavaScript. Now, just like in our HTML, we needed to link to the style sheet to tell the web page, hey, use this style sheet. JavaScript usually goes at the end of the body. So I'm just going to make a comment here, load JavaScript. Remember that was control forward slash to the comment. And then I'm going to use a script tag. Now, I can actually put JavaScript commands right inside of this script tag. All right, I could go alert. I could try to do alert hello world like that. And now if we run this program, you'll see that it ran that alert message. Okay, there's the web page, and it ran that. If I run it again, there it is, right? Okay, and actually let's open this in a new tab here. So I can open up the console. Just refresh for a second, and we get that alert message, and the web page shows up. Cool. So another command that we could have done, instead of alert, let's go console.log. And then the same thing. Let's go to here and hit refresh. And you can now see that it logged it into the console. Okay. Now, this is fine. We can do this, right? And we can write multiple lines of code here, right? I should have done that. Hi. Let's try that. So there we ran multiple lines of code, and we can type all sorts of stuff. But we want to make sure we do a separation of concerns, right? We don't want to, just like we didn't want to put our style sheet in here with our HTML, it's nicer to break them up into separate files. So our CSS is all here, our HTML is all here. Let's have all of our JavaScript in a separate file too. So I'm just gonna cut those. And what we can do here is, just like we do with an image, we can go into the opening tag and we can do a source attribute. And that source attribute says, hey, what file should I look for some JavaScript? And I'll run whatever commands are in that file, just like you would put them inside of this element. Okay, so we're going to look for script.js. And now that'll load whatever the contents are of this file, which we'll just put this stuff in here. I'll say console.log. Hi, I'm in script.js. And yo. So now if we go back here, we get that yo, and hi, I'm in script.js. Okay, so that's how we set up our HTML file, right? We've got these three files. The HTML is the controller, right? It's the main web page that links to the style sheet, and it loads the JavaScript from that file. Okay, awesome. And the last little thing down here, and so that's what we talked about, right? Script.js, and we load it just like so. And there's also JavaScript comments. This / is a comment that the browser will just ignore. It won't execute that command. So for example, if I were to go to script.js, if I added a // right, so it nicely shows that it's commented out. And if I were to go here now and refresh, you'll see it runs the console.log, but it didn't run that alert. So that comes in handy sometimes when you want to test something. Say, hey, I think this line of code's causing a problem. I'm going to comment it out and see if everything else works. Okay. Another use of comments is just for like titles. You can say, my first JS program by Mr. V, right? So you can have a title. If you have different sections in your program, you can kind of label them. You can explain what things are. So you can do an end of line comment like this and say, you know, saying yo to the user. Anyway, so those comments come in handy. All right, so that is our exciting first introduction into JavaScript, right? We're going to start writing programs. JavaScript is the programming language that we have these commands that we can run, and we're going to put all those commands together into algorithms, into step-by-step instructions to complete a task. Okay, so right now we were just playing around with what are these commands, but we'll start looking at how we can actually do something useful with them. In the next video, we'll start looking at some data because programs need to work with data, so we'll look at that. But for now, that is our introduction to JavaScript. Okay, hope that made sense. Take care, and we will see you in the next video.